Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today I'm talking to you about 10 strategies to get rid of bad karma. Hi, my name is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman. I'm an intuitive psychic medium here in the Sugarland area. That's just outside of Houston. I work with my angels and guides to assist my clients in many areas of their lives, to bring them special messages from loved ones who have passed, to dialogue with their angels for guidance into their own situation, or to assist them with their own psychic abilities. If you like my content, please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. Many times I have, over the last few weeks, gotten questions from Dear Ruth Teresa questions to in my office clients or over the phone clients of asking about how can they get rid of old karma. And it truly makes sense when we really think that Saturn is in retrograde right now, and Saturn is a planet of karma. It's kind of like, what could you have done differently? How could you have done this differently? And so I've come up with like 10 strategies to kind of get rid of your old bad karma. I would say work each step individually and then kind of like, do I feel like I've let it go? Because sometimes there's like many layers in karma or an event that we took karma from. So it's really important that we really think about that. So let's get started with the 10 reasons. Okay, so first one is to identify the karma. What type of karma are you dealing with? There are many different types. Sometimes you know what I'm saying, like really didn't listen, or you modified the words. Someone told you something and you modified the words, and actually whoever you told it to now took it to the umpteenth degree. And you're like, wow, I feel guilty. That's your karma. That's your kind of like, I did this wrong. Anytime that you've done something wrong, or that you've said something incorrectly, or that you've done something that you know that you shouldn't have done, that's your karma. That's your part of what's going on. If you're going through a family event, that's kind of what I've been gotten a lot of, is a lot of family karma. And so if you're going through something and you're kind of like, well, I really didn't tell her the truth, or I really wanted to kind of like, I don't know why didn't tell her the truth, but I didn't. And that can make all the difference in the world. And that makes so much difference when you're dealing with karma. So karma is anything that you kind of wish you did differently, or you see from now looking back going, wow, I really messed up, or I could have done this differently. So those are the kind of the karmic things that most people are dealing with. So number 2 is sever the ties with toxic people. Usually there are people in your life for whatever reason that they're in your life and they kind of just drag you down, but it's kind of the toxic people of like, oh, it's not a big deal, or oh, it doesn't really matter. It'll be all right in the end. So it's kind of like they're the ones that are kind of like letting you slide on things instead of going, hey, you know you did something wrong, so what can we do to fix this, or how can we fix this? It's those are the toxic people around us. And sometimes when you're just around them, it's like you're almost like drugged or alcohol induced. It's kind of like you're around them and you just think about things differently. You're like, oh, it's not a big deal to do this, or it's not a big deal to do that, and then you realize like, wow, this isn't the way I normally live. And that's the toxic people we kind of need to cut out of our lives and really sever ties with. A lot of times the toxic people could be, not always, could be narcissistic. So that could bring in a lot of old stuff as well. And they kind of like have this mentality at this point of like, either you're 100% on my side or you're 100% against me. And so that may be kind of like, am I ready to deal with this? Am I ready to sever this completely? So I can live a better life. It's really a better life when you're not dealing with other people's karma, their toxicity. It really does help. So let's go into number 3, learning from and taking your responsibility from your mistakes. When you've made a mistake in the past, you can't say, oh, because so and so told me the wrong thing to say. You always had the power within yourself to make a change. You always had the personal power to change it, and you didn't. So it's one of those, take your responsibility for what you did, give the other bad stuff to the other people that deserve it. And I would do it more in a meditation of kind of like, I'm gifting this back to you to give back to creator, because it doesn't belong with you either. It's one of those. And sometimes people kind of like justify things. And when you feel like, wow, you're really kind of stretching to justify this, it can be overwhelming. But that's kind of like, okay, you stretch to do it, and then I kind of stretch to kind of allow you to do it. So I'm taking my fair share of this responsibility. It makes it easier, it makes it a little bit lighter, and it does make it your fault that you've done something wrong. And so take that accountability. I take my fair share of what I brought into the situation, or my fair share of what I did or didn't do. So, number 4, jealousy releasing for you and others. A lot of times when people kind of feel that they deserve something that they really shouldn't deserve, it's more like a jealousy. Well, they got a bigger piece of cake, or they got this from mom and dad and I didn't get that, or so and so got this, or they got a promotion I think was due me. And that jealousy comes in a lot of different ways. Jealousy is just like a really big green monster of energy of someone else got something I think I deserve and they got it. A lot of times, if you were to reverse that energy and kind of like, okay, obviously they deserve this promotion because they did more work than I did, or they did something differently that I didn't do, and allow that to happen, it actually makes it easier. It totally makes it easier to go, I'll get the next one, and to be thankful that they got this position. Because if you don't, you're holding on to that old jealous energy, and that's going to come back and haunt you along with the karma part of it. So that's kind of something to be very aware of. So lesson number 5 is kind of meditate on what you've done wrong and how you could have done it differently. A lot of times you don't have to really do a deep meditation to do this, but a meditation where you kind of draw that energy to you and kind of like, okay, let me go back through this whole event or situation and think about what I could have done differently. So when this person said this, I should have said this. If they said whatever it is, I should have come back and said, no, this isn't right. We need to be fair, or we need to be square on with everybody. So that kind of makes it a little bit different, and it starts kind of correcting that karma and going back through that. And from that, you're going to know like what your fault is and take that fair share of it for you. Number 6. Okay, change you. You can make a new agreement with yourself to never do that again. And I think that's one of the strongest things out of all of these ideas is when you know that you've done something wrong or you should have done something differently, to kind of decide to change you. So many times, like 99.9% of the time, people are like, you need to change my husband, or you need to change my wife, or my cousin, or my sister, or my brother, whatever it is. It's always pointing fingers at everybody else instead of taking your fair share of the blame. The only person you can truly change is yourself. Totally. The only person you can change is yourself. And when you make a new agreement with yourself, if I'm in this situation again or anything similar to this, I'm going to choose differently. I'm going to take the time to choose what is going to work for me and my family and my life. And when you do that, it makes it so much stronger, because when you get into that situation again or something similar, you're like, wait, oh, okay. So I'm going to do what I know is correct in this situation. I know I'm going to voice what my voice is. I'm going to say what you're doing is wrong. And I may have to like cut out more people out of my life, more toxic people, and walk away from the situation, which will make you so much stronger. Number 7, turn your weakness into a strength. So many times people go, I just get around other people and I don't have any strength. I just feel weak around them. And it's hard to do this. It's hard to kind of let go, or kind of stop them of like, hey, what you're doing is wrong, or hey, what you're doing is incorrect, or it's not fair, or you're kind of skewing things so it does look like it's fair in your favor, but it really shouldn't be. We should make this more balanced. When you stand up in that strength, you're actually turning that weakness all the way into a strength and making yourself stronger. So next time you can stand up against this easier and it won't be so scary. But whenever you have a situation like this, the most important part is to stand up for yourself and stand up for what you know is correct, because everybody has it in our hearts. Kind of like our connection to our creator source is, we want to make this in balance. Everything wants to find that balance, and that's why karma comes after us sometimes. So once you've made, number 8 is, once you've made that agreement, anytime you get close to that situation, give yourself a break, give yourself a few minutes to take a step back and kind of like, okay, here I'm getting back into the situation again. So how am I going to do this differently? I had to release all the karma from last time. my creator's offering me this situation again. How am I going to choose to upgrade this? How am I going to choose to make this different? How am I going to do this differently? And when you do that, it kind of makes new agreements with yourself, but it's one of those, it also gives you a break, kind of like, let me get out of that situation for just a few minutes so I can decide what I need to do now. Number 9, forgive everybody. Everybody has things in their past that they hold on to for whatever reason. I feel like so-and-so got something bigger than me, or I didn't get the same breaks, or someone else had more breaks. They had a family that loved them. And so that was, they got something I didn't get out of life. When you just start forgiving people, forgiving your parents. So like someone else got like free college from their parents and you didn't. It's one of those, forgive yourself and forgive your parents. Forgive everybody in this situation. It's choices that everybody made that brought you to this situation. But I guarantee if you've been through some hard times, and I think everybody has, usually that's going to make you stronger. Usually that's going to make you a stronger person. It should be making you a stronger person. And allowing that forgiveness to flow doesn't mean you forgot what the person did or anything else. It just means I'm letting go of the guilt or the anger or the anxiety with this, and I'm letting that go so I can stand in my own strength. Number 10. You ready for this one? Forgive yourself. So many times people forget this part. We're human. We make mistakes. All of us do. Each and every one of us make mistakes every day, all day long. But a lot of times it wasn't intentional, or we kind of like, I should have done this a little bit differently, or maybe I should have said this differently. Forgive yourself. So many times we allow other people, when we forgive them and we keep bringing them back in our lives, but really what we should be doing is forgiving ourselves. We didn't mean to do harm. We didn't usually decide like, I'm going to do this and it's going to purposely hurt someone. We didn't really do that. What we really want to say is, I want to be forgiven. And the first person you should forgive is yourself. That's a great idea to do at any time. So many of us hold on to old guilt, old anxiety, and it can actually start causing PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, in our bodies, because every time we get used to that, like, oh, everybody else is getting forgiven, but I'm not. It's kind of like, oh, wait, why am I not? Why am I not good enough to get forgiven? You've got to give it to yourself first before you can gift that out to other people. It's really important to do that. Let's pull a couple of angel cards and hopefully get us a little bit deeper insight into what's going on here. So this is the first card, surrender and release. And this is all about what we were just talking about, forgiving others, forgiving yourself, and letting it go. Doesn't mean you forget about the situation or anything else. It just means you're forgiving it and you're moving on. You're still going to kind of like, I need to be careful with this one, but it makes life so much easier not to hang on to all of that. Freedom. When you let go of bad karma, it gives you so much freedom, so much peace. And I think that is the biggest part of dealing with karma, is kind of letting go of things that don't work and stepping into something that does, and it will give you freedom. The next card is truth and integrity. When you stand in your truth and integrity and you stand up for what you know is right, you know you're right. It's one of those, no one else has to affirm that. No one else has to tell you you've done something right or wrong or anything else. When you stand up in your own truth and integrity and say something, it is powerful. It can be amazingly powerful to do that. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon. Have an amazing day.